Hi friends, this is Yoga Light, and today we are looking at past lives. When we look at the experience of remembering a past life, we find three interwoven aspects. These are the memory itself, the karmic trace, which is how the past life relates to our present life, and the spiritual mission, which has to do with the lessons learned in the past life and connections to the divine. These lessons form a basis of the karmic trace and why that past life memory has entered into our current awareness. There are different kinds of past life experiences. The first is childhood memories where a child remembers a past life. These are usually vivid, detailed, and compelling. This ability fades with childhood. In most cases, they only remember one life. This is subject to all sorts of influences, for instance, how receptive the home life is. Over time, these memories, or some of them, can remain vivid, but there will be a relationship and meaning given to them that will be affected by the conditioning of growing up. In adult cases, the past life memory is often fragmentary. It can be a single image or scene with an understanding of a situation. It can be vivid or vague. Other elements can reveal themselves without being connected directly to the image. The three components, the memory, the karmic trace, and the realization, can be obvious or not. Any one of them can be the focus. Past life memories don't arise from our normal faculty of memory. They come from a deeper source and for special reasons. They aren't recalled or triggered by association like an ordinary memory. Part of the issue is how well we remember events generally. We may be accustomed to remembering facts, but not so much vivid memories of events in our lives. These can be related to the time period we were remembering. Some childhood memories can be quite vivid, whereas memories of a period from our 20s are not. Any examination of memory will also show us that it is not a recording. Things are subjected to subconscious filters that make selective choices. It's like a movie where characters never take a bathroom break. It is often distorted and filled with errors. The quality of memory is different across people. Only a tiny percentage of people can recall most of their lives vividly in images and details. Our memory also varies depending on the quality of sleep and other factors such as emotional state. You will likely have a better visual memory if you are focused on visual information, such as a video editor. People generally remember images better than hearing, but some are the opposite. For example, my friend remembered a trip to an amusement park with his sister as a child. He remembered his age by what grade in school he was in. But one day it occurred to him, decades later, that his sister wasn't born yet. So he asked his mother if she remembered the trip. She did, and said that the neighbor girl had gone with them. His memory had been altered. He had placed his familiar sister to stand in for a vague neighbor. This was a shocking insight, as it showed him that his memory was not a recording, which can also be very helpful in distancing one from the identification with the mind's ego story. So as we examine past life memories, we look at the experience as having a wide range of possible manifestations and possibly being mixed together or distorted by desires, ego aims, and imagination. We can divide past life memories into several types. One would be a clear memory. This could be a visual memory of an event or some other sense, such as a feeling or smell. Another is knowledge of an event or situation. An inner dialogue from the present accompanies most memories, but with a past life memory experience, there can also be an inner knowing of situations and relationships. The image may stand more as a symbol. You may know you were someone who did or experienced something. Part of this has to do with why a particular life memory arises and how they are formed and carried forward into the next life. We will deal with that when we look at the incarnation process. One can also experience being shown or told about a past life by a guide or part of your higher self. There is also the implied memory, where we have no memory but we have a sense, a feeling, a proclivity, or a reaction from a previous life's influence. Two important things can come with the memory: a sense of elation, bliss, or light, and a sense of the higher consciousness directing or flowing inwards, a non-ordinary feeling that comes with the state in which the memory has arisen. The second thing is that there can be an intuitive knowledge of the meaning of the past life, either in terms of the issues one is facing in the current life, or in terms of why one's life is the way it is, the karmic trace or the lesson or realization that came from the life. For instance, one may remember an injustice in a past life and see why one made certain life choices, such as one's career in the present life. This type of experience can be related to seeing certain important moments in childhood that foreshadowed what was to come in our development and life experience. An important thing to remember is that many naysayers, including our own voices of doubt, point out other possibilities for such experiences. For instance, it could be argued that if you look back on childhood, it is not a foreshadowing, rather, the memory has taken on a symbolic importance after the fact. Our memory is selective. There are many possibilities, but in subtle matters one has to cultivate an inner knowing and inner discriminating ability. These things can only really be known and examined with insight and intuition. You must recognize, cultivate, and trust the higher and deeper knowing that goes beyond our reason. This is a theme we will return to. Regarding the lesson or realizations, these usually have to do with an expanded sense of self. One may realize that one is part of something greater, a vaster reality. There are other types of experiences. Some people have an inner vision that sees the past lives of others. These can vary widely also. For instance, I knew someone who often saw people with another face superimposed, the other face of a past life, or another who could see the karmic roots within people, some of these extending back to previous lives. These roots were related to illness and injuries. Past life memories can arise spontaneously or be induced. They can arise in the normal waking routine or during meditation. They can also come in dreams, lucid dreams, or out-of-body experiences. The most common practice is to use hypnosis for past life regression. They can be directly related to current events or signal things being transformed. They can mark the end or the beginning of the transformation. They can also appear independent of life circumstances, though they will reveal their relationship over time. The key thing is that some force or line of development comes from the past and is now impacting the present life in some way. At the pinnacle of realization, a great chain of lives appear before the mind, but on the realization side, there are many aspects of the experience of past lives where an individual memory is not as important as the feeling of immortality, the infinite, and the sense of eternity. This is not invulnerability, like a teenager, nor a mental sense, but the contact with the eternal being that is in and beyond and above all. Many teachers and traditions caution one against looking into past lives. There are good reasons for this, but if you understand the pitfalls of this kind of experience, which has to do with how we process them, then even if you make an error, this can be of immense value as you can then overcome a fault. We want to understand and be able to adapt and incorporate such experiences, be receptive to other people and their paths, and also be able to get the right motivation when it comes to knowledge of our past lives. In yoga, the idea of past lives can be a belief, a philosophical viewpoint, an experience, or a realization. Some people are raised in a family where the belief in past lives is absorbed and taken for reality without much question. Others, by examining and reflecting on their life or through philosophical endeavors, comes to the conclusion that the idea of past lives carries an explanatory power. Still others have an experience that leads to the belief or incorporation of the idea into their views, or still further, it can lead to a realization of past lives. These can all be mixed together. The key idea is that there is a realization or inner knowing that is superior to a philosophical idea or a mere unexamined belief, and that it points to a connection to the Supreme. We should make a distinction between two types of experiences. They can blend together into each other. The first is a spiritual experience, which can mean a connection with the silent witness, the vast peace, or we can say anything that connects us to the divine. The second is an occult experience, which reveals part of nature's hidden workings. What is hidden is to some degree a moving target. If you time travel back to the Paleolithic with your cell phone, the reception will be lousy, but you could play downloaded music, and this would be a powerful occult experience for anyone you encounter, but it wouldn't necessarily help them to connect to anything higher. This is important because two people can have the same experience, but one will result in progress as the person grasps the implications and opens up to a wider reality. Others seize it for the ego, reject it, or otherwise fail to absorb it. Many people awaken to a wider reality and take a spiritual turn as a result of an occult experience. There are people who will judge them, try to play down any experience, accuse them of chasing powers or other kinds of moral improprieties, or feel insecure because they lack understanding and seek to stuff them back into a box without recognizing the implications. This has to do with where they are on the path and their level of insight. Aim high. Anything is possible, and accept with an eye of understanding. Be open to what you can learn and see why someone has come into your life. Past life memory experiences can be either spiritual or occult. Simple curiosity may or may not be helpful in your development, as there are several pitfalls to avoid. Having your imagination captured by a romance of the past, experiencing the ego seizing something in a sense of self-importance, or misrecognizing something as a past life experience when it is not. There is also the problem of overemphasizing the relationship of the past to the present. Spontaneously arising past life memories can also be either furthering for us or squandered. Sometimes people have experiences that lead to fear and confusion as they are unprepared. In yoga, we have to reconcile the contradiction between seeing the value in something or the lack of value and the viewpoint that everything happens from the divine. Both are true, one in a pragmatic sense, the other in an ultimate sense. One could argue that an experience that leads to pitfalls or to fear and confusion is ultimately needed, but another is to say that one is in a flow of ignorance. There is no set of rules. In Part 2, we will briefly look at the reincarnation process. This helps to understand the mechanism of remembering past lives. In Part 3, we will look at problems, and in Part 4, the aims of yoga in relation to the experience of past lives. If you get something out of this video, please hit the like and subscribe. Till next time.